What's up, folks? I'm Karama, aka the Blur Girl, and welcome to the Blur Girl Live. I hope everyone is staying safe in the middle of this ongoing parallelogram that we're living in. And yes, although we are no longer in Black History Month, I am still Black. So tonight, my guests on the show actually are as well. My first guest is actually comedian, writer Yedoye Travis for the first hour, followed by host, gamer, and producer Erin Ashley Simon for the second hour. So let me introduce you. Now, my first guest, Yedoye Travis, is a stand-up comedian, actor, and writer from Atlanta, Georgia. He was named a new face at the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival in 2017 and has since headlined festivals around the country. That was before the parallelogram. And he's appeared on TBS, Comedy Central, CBS, and Netflix, whom he's also written for, in addition to MTV and IFC. And he's also writing DC's digital first Legends of the Dark Knight series. That's right. There is a Black man writing Batman. I said it. He's also has a comedy album called Okay, produced by Comedy Dynamics, which was released back in 2018. And most of you probably recognize him from the anime show Beyond the Bot. Welcome to the Blur Girl Live, Yedoye Travis. What's
Hey,
good? How you
oh,
doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you? I feel like I need to stress that that bio is so much longer than what I sent you.
Oh, it is.
You are
You sent me a sentence that was like, I'm a comedian. And I'm like, yeah, I see that. Uh-oh.
uh-oh,
Uh-oh.
lost my camera. Hold up, let me change batteries real quick.
Okay.
Look at that technical.
But I'm going to still talk to you while you sort that out, okay?
Yeah, you do that and just let the people know that this is a technical thing on my end and not yours. You run a very
I,
professional show, very tight ship, and just at the perfect moment, I come in and sabotage.
and that's why I love you, Yedoye, because your timing. Um,
Yeah, this is why we can't have nice things, as they say.
no, it's exactly why we can't have nice things. A lot of stuff happened this week. For those of you who have been tuning in, we got a Superman and Lois pilot on the CW, which I'm curious, has anybody in the chat watched that new Superman and Lois show that came out? Because it was like, it's kind of somber. It's kind of quiet. It wasn't as I guess I expected it to be like really like a big, huge fanfare since it was another Clark Kent, but I was wrong. Let me know what you think
I'm back.
about that show. Hey, did you watch it, Yedoye? Did you watch?
Oh, oh, I definitely did not. I am not a Superman person, and like my roommate is so into like all the CW DC shows and all these things, and I've never been that dude. I'm always like, how much how much Superman do we really need? How deep do we need to go in these people's lives, you know? I don't know
Well,
what it is about like
these
just
archetypes?
yeah. Well, yeah. Superman in particular is just like, how much can we really learn about this person? He's like a perfect he's a good guy, and that's like what we got.
Well, I think that's the thing also with DC. They have these stock characters. They have, DC, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and they just give them different iterations. It's not like they don't have new characters, but I feel like Marvel does that a little bit more often. They'll throw us a new character. Not to say that DC doesn't create new characters. For y'all come for me because I really like N.K. Jemisin's Green Lantern. But it's funny that you ask how many Supermen do we need?
Uh-huh.
Because because J.J. Abrams just happened to announce that he's making another Superman movie, not tied, I guess, to the rest of the canon. I guess this has nothing to do with the Snyder Cut because it's J.J. Abrams,
Uh-huh.
and that excuse me, Ta-Nehisi Coates is going to be writing it. So I'm assuming you heard this.
I have heard this. And and this is a feature, I assume. This is a
I'm
feature
going to
I've heard. Yeah.
I'm going to assume this, and also like basically what all of this sparked was all of this news about finally getting a Black Superman, and I was saying,
Yes.
yeah, it's like, and I basically the other news story that came out was the fact that Michael B. Jordan had years ago spoke to Oprah about this. And for some reason, people were surprised that Oprah didn't know that we had a Black Superman. I don't know why Oprah's supposed to know that. Let Oprah have her
Well,
things.
she's like the giver of Black information. That's who she is. She just has, you know, she's the only
So
one of us that can see color.
apparently,
Yeah.
so what was interesting about that is all these debates, because there are two Black supermen that are actually canon. One
Hmm.
was Calvin Ellis, and the other one was Val Zod. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I have pictures here. On the left, we have Calvin Ellis, and on the right, we have Val Zod. Now, on the left, Calvin Ellis came out first in 2009. Grant Morrison and Doug Monk created. This was in Final Crisis. It was an alternate universe when he was president of the United States and looked suspiciously like Barack Obama, which was a little like art imitating life and imitating art, because Barack Obama was actually president by the time that this book dropped. This is also the book that we got. Final Crisis was also the book that we got Nubia as Wonder Woman. Like, in her universe, she was the only Wonder Woman. So it was this really cool thing in Final Crisis that for 3 pages, we saw this whole universe of Black people. And then, just like kind of Milestone, they went away.
Look at that.
And
Who would have thought?
you would have thought. Then on the right, we have Val Zod. Now, Val Zod was introduced in 2014 by Tom Taylor, Nicholas Scott, Robson Roca, and that is the Earth 2 version. So if anybody has ever seen anybody cosplaying, a Black man cosplaying Superman in a white suit with a red S, that is who they were cosplaying as, Val Zod.
Okay.
And so he could be playing either one. I don't know. Maybe they're coming up with a brand new character. We got a Black Batman now. What do you think of all of this? Uh,
Um.
not
Okay.
just Superman, but Ta-Nehisi Coates and other people writing for these new things. So both, two questions.
Okay. Well, as far as the speculation goes, I did, and this might be something that came out like minutes ago, but I had an article pop up that said there were pictures of Michael B. Jordan dressed as Val Zod, and I don't know if that is directly related to this or if it was just like he was just cosplaying in the past. I did not click the article because I'm not an inquisitive person, but
You're
but
like, because I did not want to know.
yeah, I think it's safe to say that he might be doing Valzad. Um,
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
and as far as Ta-Nehisi Coates writing it, I mean, I read his Black Panther that he did with Roxanne Gay. I actually have it right there, um, and I thought it was pretty good. I think there is a degree of like scrutiny that comes along with that people give to like Black writers writing white characters or Black characters taking over for those white characters that I think is unnecessary. But I also do think it's a lot of people try out to be like Ta-Nehisi Coates is a good writer, but I think we can't like a Black man getting a check.
No,
I think that's I think that's what it is.
listen, and I completely agree. I'm all for Black folks getting paid, and more
Hmm.
than 1 month out the year. I did not see that article. I would be interested to see him in the suit. I'm also wondering whether or not he was just taking pictures. Because remember when Tyrese Gibson dressed up as Green Lantern and he was like, "Please make me Green Lantern. I am John
Yeah,
Stewart. I am the
he's
hero you
also done
need."
also when he did that for Martin Luther King and when he did that for Django. He does that a
Yeah.
lot, actually.
Yeah, and he doesn't get the hint for some very strange reason. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's 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 odd what happens. But
Mhm.
people in the chat are also saying, and hello to everybody who's coming. Welcome to the stream, everybody. I'm Karen Horn, aka the Blur Girl. This is the Blur Girl Live. My guest for this first hour is comedian Yedoye Travis, and we are talking about the new Black Superman that was just announced. Yedoye actually doesn't really care. So I'm curious as to anybody else who does care. Benny Nix, I think you asked how many superhero comic roles has Michael B. Jordan had. He was Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, the Tim
Mhm.
Story Fantastic Four. Tim Story, by the
Killmonger.
way, yeah, he was Killmonger. Tim Story, by the way, just released the new Tom and Jerry movie. It's a little connection there.
Oh, okay.
That's out now. And I think that's it. If he's done another one, I am unawares. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious as
Yeah.
to whether or not this is going to happen. I'm also curious as to whether or not Ta-Nehisi is going to be able to make his deadline. You know, but oh, and for those of you who were wondering, does Ta-Nehisi Coates have to write a black Superman? Of course he doesn't.
No.
Absolutely not. But
As someone who
the
wrote a white Batman,
I
as
was
he
gonna
does
say
not.
he
He
does
does
not.
not.
The proof is in the guest that I have tonight. However, the story was first released to Shadow and Act, and then because I went to Hollywood Reporter, and Hollywood Reporter had said first the story broke in Shadow and Act. Shadow and Act is a black news, basically movie and news site that is now owned by Blavity. And it's so funny because it's so niche that a Hollywood Reporter had to explain what Shadow and Act was, that it was not actually a movie. Um, so I thought that was funny.
Yeah. It sounds very
Something that
Cloak and Dagger.
I see what you did there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, the the other thing that was announced was that Avatar might be coming back in some way, shape, or form. Avatar Studios is now a new company, yes, that created Avatar as well as Legend of Korra. They are starting their own studio that is basically an extension of Nickelodeon. So, what's interesting about this news is that because my first concern was, are the original guys coming back? Are the creators, Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, coming back? Because they stepped away from the live
Hmm.
action adaptation that's coming to Netflix, uh,
Yeah.
which makes me nervous. That I side eyed at it when that happened. What do you think?
I want to know if we still get both. Like, I want to know: are we
I
still
think we
getting
will.
the? We're still getting the live action adaptation?
I think we are. I'm side eyeing it the same way I'm side eyeing the Death Note that we don't talk about that came to
Hmm.
Netflix.
Yep.
It is still happening. We don't know who's going to do it. We don't know who's starring in it. But this new studio, Avatar Studios, is basically, it's designed to create original animated, let me get this right, original animated series and movies based on Avatar and Legend of Korra. The output will debut on platforms including Paramount Plus. I didn't know we had a Paramount Plus. There's another Plus?
There's there is a Paramount Plus. Yeah. Oh,
For the love of God.
yeah. I mean, I think it's cool. I think if there is a series on Nickelodeon or any American animated series that could use an extended universe, I think Avatar is it. I think there's the question of whether like we need to lean into this whole extended universe thing as a whole, but I think like if it needs to start somewhere, Avatar is definitely it. I love Avatar and I love Korra, and um I wish Korra had had the room to not have the sort of production issues that happened after the first season because there wasn't supposed to
Yeah.
be any more than a first season.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be great that the continuation of Avatar is like within the hands of the actual creators now and not like and like them as a studio and not as Nickelodeon making demands based on like people like this one season that you did now make it longer.
Yeah. And I think and just waiting until like end of the season to say, yeah, you got a second season after something has been written and an arc has ended. And it's like, but wait, we could have
Hmm.
left that open. I am also very interested in seeing the world expand in the way that Watchmen's world expanded. I have a friend of mine who's an artist, Marcus Williams, and he created a whole fantasy world called Legend of, well, it's in the Avatar world, but it's Legend of Abiyoye, and he's a gold
Mm,
bender. He's a Nigerian gold bender. So there's
okay.
war where he is, and he's an iron bender, but it's a version of metal bending, basically.
Yeah.
And so he wears gold. He's all blinged up, but all of it can be turned into weapons at a
Right.
moment's notice. And I'm like, I want that animated
I
series.
want that. That's so cool.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
So
I have a
shout out.
friend who I have a friend Mike Tony who does a lot of similar stuff. I think he did that for Demon Slayer. He had like an
Mhm.
African Demon Slayer. Yeah,
Yes,
he's just
JD Hayes in the chat is saying that sounds dope. Yes, it is absolutely dope. I'm very, very excited
Mhm.
about it. Who was when you were watching both shows, who was your favorite character in Avatar and who was your favorite character in Korra?
I think in Avatar, um,
I was gonna say that's a tough question. If your camera froze, so it looked like you couldn't remember. So what
yeah, my
was
Wi-Fi
say
is
that
killing right
again?
now.
Say that
Uh,
again. Who was your favorite character?
it's funny that you said it's a tough question because I said my favorite character is Toph, who is uh,
Yes, the
yeah,
blind earthbender herself, her whole family, the whole
yeah,
Beifong family, that extended universe in Korra. Oh my god, I
yeah, just
love
such a
Lin Beifong.
yeah, just such a dope crew. Um, who else though? I don't know. I mean, toward the end, probably Zuko, but like not at any point before that.
Actually, I liked Zuko's arc. And you're right, we had to get to the end, but I think he had one of the best well-written arcs. And again, it was well written because they let them go all the way to the end. They knew
Yeah,
how many episodes they were going to get and everything.
yeah. Or they let them go to the point that they knew they were going to go to. That's yeah.
Well, you've written for TV. What is it like being a writer in a not just a writer's room, but on like an episodic? Do you get an entire episode or do you just get a scene? How does that work?
Well, the way our show worked, we outlined the whole show as a group, just in the writers' room, and then somebody would go home with it with the outline and write that script out themselves. And some people are better at structure, some people are better at jokes. That's just kind of how writers' rooms are. And so somebody would just take a rough pass at it and then bring it back to the writers' room, and then we would just tear it apart and basically write an entirely new script based on that like uh relatively nice outline of an episode. Yeah. um
Relatively nice.
yeah, it's nicer than just a page of story beats is what it is.
Got it. Okay. Um, and the other thing that was announced is that we're getting a District 10. So District 9, the Australian movie that came out years ago, we are now getting a District 10. Yeah. So District 9 was basically aliens that were kind of like bugs were treated like, I don't know, black people, I guess. And until the guy on the left there, who was one
Mhm.
of the military, gets infected, and then he starts getting treated like everyone else. And then it's kind of like the pandemic. I don't know. How would you describe District 9?
um just I would like to see this through 8 bugs. I want to see those it was people. I think that's been such a way, and I wrote like a little essay about how it is that you that same stories just with like or like that Will Smith movie, Bright, like it's so people can't like people. Oh yeah, I understand. I get. It. I see that. Oh,
So we have a
I guess
little
that's
we we have a little bit of a delay there, so that's why I was like pausing.
okay. Did you hear all of that? Did you get?
Only I
Did you hear? Did you hear any of that?
heard part of no, I did hear part of it. I heard part of it, but I didn't hear the end part. Um, but what I am curious about is in terms of this concept of structure, because we're obviously gonna talk about anime because
Mhm,
beyond the bot. Um,
mhm.
the what type of society would you consider what they were trying to just what they were describing in District 9?
I mean, it's just apartheid South Africa, which is why it's part of why it's so frustrating. Is that like
Mm-hmm.
this is just a story that's in history. This story, it's not something. It's not even really something that you like wrote or invented. It's just like, what if it was bugs? And that's all it
Right.
is.
Well, and it's funny because that's happened in science fiction so much, where it's like it's much easier for someone to understand it if it is it doesn't look human. Then people can see for some reason the oppression. I had a similar conversation with somebody who worked on The Expanse. It was like, yeah, if it's a
Hmm.
belter, we can have this discussion about belters and earthers and belters and inners. I don't know if you watch the show or
Yeah,
not. And I'm like, yeah, but okay, or you can just talk about oppressed people here.
yeah. It's like if y'all are not gonna, and also those stories like don't really like people don't absorb those stories like that. So like if you're not, if you like if it's something you feel like you can't talk about directly, then like who is your audience? You know, who are the
Well, here's
people
the
that you're talking?
but do you think to a certain extent it is good to have something that you can at least use as a reference for somebody who just can't see it?
I think it's good to have like yeah, it's good to be able to like reduce it into terms people understand, but
Mm-hmm.
also like I don't need I don't need Star Trek to do that for me. I don't need like some random sci-fi movie to do that for me. Like there are simple analogies that already exist.
So for a couple of people, for a couple of people in the chat who had trouble hearing what you previously said, Massacre starts and DCUC 3-year. Hey, yes, District 9 is a very fascinating movie. I was reiterating what Yedoye was saying, which was the fact that it, for some reason, District 9 represents, if you look at it literally, how they're treating all of the aliens, putting them basically, or even Native Americans, you basically putting them on a reservation and and not giving them the basic needs that, food, clothing, water, shelter. They have to fight for all of those things. They're basically created a ghetto for them. I was just
Mhm.
reiterating what he was saying, and the fact that it's easier for some reason, for us to accept bugs, bugs that are
Yeah,
aliens or kaiju, than it is for the people in mainstream society to accept some of those political statements when we're talking about like regular folk, like Black people.
yeah. Yeah, and to me that is to a degree like based on this desire to not admit that it's real, you know?
Yeah,
Like
no, absolutely.
we believe all these stories happen, but just not because of us or because of like something that we're doing now. And I think if it's like first of all, if it's set in a different time or like a dystopian future or a dystopian past, it's so easy
Mm-hmm.
for people to divorce themselves from the fact that that type of stuff is still happening to humans,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know? So like and I think it's more egregious with a movie like Bright, where you're talking about modern police brutality and using like orcs and fairies and all this
Fairies.
magical stuff, and I'm just like, yo, this is humans do this.
Right.
Humans
Like
are
it's
very
okay.
capable of this.
It's okay if we beat them. They're just a fairy. It's like, that's that's wrong because
Yeah,
the concept. Um, and also, there's a few people in chat that had somebody earlier in the chat was asking me about WandaVision. I'm sorry, Yedoye is the only person I know who has not watched it. We're not judging him tonight. We are not. This is a judgment-free zone, but we can't really discuss it until the second
mm,
hour because Yedoye hasn't watched it because he's been busy writing Batman.
yeah.
So he
Had a few
gets a
things on my
pass.
plate. My bad.
Yes. Um, so JD Hayes, Bright tripped me out with that storyline. Yeah, it tripped me out too. 2099 Miguel, welcome. Yeah, kind of like counter escapism because it's real life. Yeah, Black Crystal's
Yeah.
telling you to watch WandaVision. I know. I don't know. I don't.
It's on my list. I just been watching a lot of anime. I got it's work.
And that's your job, and I'm not mad at that because we're about to get into the breakdown segment right now to start talking about some of the anime. So I need to know what anime, before we get into some of the discussions about Attack on Titan, I would like to know what anime you are watching and enjoying right now.
Oh, let me see. I've been going back and watching some old stuff actually. I started rewatching Lupin the Third a couple days ago. Shin Chan. I rewatched. I did my like yearly rewatch of Fooly Cooly. Um, and what else? Oh, I also watched all of Naruto in quarantine just over the past
Wow.
year. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's a commitment. That is a
It's a big
commitment.
commitment. It is a big commitment. Yeah. So I was like, I
Um,
know I've seen a lot of this, but not all of it. So like, let
well,
me just
yeah,
knock it out.
that's what happens. And those of us who started, not started, but a lot of us saw our anime out of order on Toonami in like the 90s. And then we had to go back and start from the beginning. One of the things that
Hmm.
I did recently was rewatch Psychopaths. I actually never saw the second season,
Okay.
but I've seen both. Psychopaths hits different in the middle of a pandemic, personal pan pizza.
You know what? A lot of stuff does, and I cannot speak to Psychopaths directly, but like I watched so much anime that speaks that is like so openly about a pandemic. It's
Yeah,
really unsettling.
it is.
I rewatched I rewatched Akira like the first month of quarantine, and it's set in 2019. It's about an apocalyptic future, and there's just like, I mean, beyond that it doesn't really, it's not so directly about sickness, but like
Right.
it's unsettling. It's very
Yeah, and
unsettling.
I went back and watched Ghost in the Shell. I watch Ghost in the Shell like you watch Fooly Cooly. That's I go to sleep to that
Mhm.
show. So Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, the second season. Part of the second season takes place. I was watching it in February 2021, and part of it takes place in February 2021.
Yeah,
And it was really creepy because it was a cyborg disease
yeah.
that it was so almost like cyborg dementia that
Hmm.
was just spreading amongst people who had implants, and a whole cover up, and some people having the cure, not giving out the cure. The person that was
Hmm.
actually in charge of not giving out the cure actually got sick, but wasn't telling anybody. I was like, wow, yeah.
Yo, there's also this movie. Have you seen? I don't know if you've seen Memories, which is
I haven't.
oh, it's Satoshi Kon and Katsuhiro Okada. And it's a three-part film series, and I feel like I'm cutting out right now, and I don't know if you caught all that. But
I caught part of it.
okay, so it's a three-part film series by Katsuhiro Otomo and Satoshi Kon. And one of those three films is called Stink Bomb, and it's about a guy who like accidentally infects himself with a chemical that like whenever he walks, or he just walks in a certain proximity to anyone, they just immediately, I don't remember if they die or if they like just faint and just go into a coma. But it's
Oh my
like,
god, he's like a weaponized pig pen.
it's straight up about social distancing, and it's also maybe the inspiration for the episode of SpongeBob where he keeps telling people he's ugly. um
Oh my god. I want
yeah.
to see if anybody in the chat has watched this. Nope. Someone sends Yedoye an Ethernet cable, is what OS says. I don't think it's that actually. Yedoye, I
No, it's
actually
not.
think it's not that. It's your headphones, because whenever you get excited, it shorts out. Um,
Oh, word.
yeah, I've noticed that whenever you move around, it's when it does it. So I think it's your
Okay,
headphones.
let me just be perfectly still. Let's see how that
Like
goes.
this. Ghost in the Shell is on the Adult Swim app for free. You are correct, the bouncer.
Hmm.
Satoshi Kon is the goat. JD Hayes says, I watched
Facts.
per- I watched Perfect Blue for the first time and was very disturbed, but I couldn't turn away. Yes, he that.
Inspiration for Black Swan, if you didn't know.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah.
Okay,
Satoshi Kon basically wrote Black Swan and Inception.
okay. That actually makes more. It's that Inception I can see now in terms of Perfect
Yeah.
Blue.
No, no,
Um,
no, no. It's Paprika. Paprika is Inception.
Oh, that makes even more sense because Paprika. The first time I watched Paprika, I was like, I think I'm supposed to be drunk. I think that's
Yeah,
what's supposed to happen.
yeah, that's the response they're trying to elicit, I think. Yeah.
um, so what I also wanted to talk to you about, you've done on Beyond the Bot some amazing deep dives. The Fooly Cooly piece you did, I believe you were talking about relationships and
Hmm.
how male female relationships are represented in anime sometimes. And what I really liked about what you talked about in for Attack on Titan was not just the classism, but sort of from a socialist Marxist perspective. And I've been saying this, but people are like,
Hmm.
no, it's not like that. And I'm like, there's actual rings. All right. So for people who do not know what we're talking about, Attack on Titan is an anime that is very, 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 very popular right now. Yedoye, who wrote Attack on Titan?
You know what? I've like talked so much shit about the creator, and I can never remember his name.
That's so funny. That's why I thought you would remember. Um, but we're gonna look it up. But
Hajime Isayama.
there we go. And what's interesting about it is and I'm going to show some images here. We have an image not just of the show, but also of the rings themselves of the actual map. Yes. So on the island of Paradise, and y'all aren't expected to be able to read everything on this map, but this is how Paradise is laid out. So the closer you are to the inner ring, the more rich you are and the more protected you are. And you know what I also thought? This is a lot
Mhm.
like Ba Sing Se.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I think when I googled it, a map of Ba Sing Se came up next to it, and it looks almost exactly the same.
Yeah, and Ba Sing Se was doing that for a minute, where the people on the very inside were the richest people and the people on the outside were not. And then we find out the
Yeah,
whole history of the Titans being in the walls. I mean, basically, for all intents and purposes, Paradise is a penal colony.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah, 100%.
um, but they didn't know it.
Hmm.
So it's like, and then what I also found fascinating, because this season is the first season that we're off of the island and we're seeing the rest of the universe. So there's another map of Paradise next to basically the mainland. Um
Marley.
Marley, which is really funny. That finger is just hilarious, but it's taken from the
Yeah.
show. So I drew a little arrow there showing you what Paradise was because they have like this made up language. So the rings that we just showed you were on this tiny island of Paradise, and the mainland is Marley. So what that really reminded me of was the Caribbean
Uh-huh.
of Puerto Rico. um yeah, so what I wanted to know is and again, you're gonna have to sit very still for this so you don't cut out. Um
I wasn't even moving. I don't know what happened
I'm
that time.
joking. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Um, I I would like to hear your thoughts on just the society as a whole, because they never talk about the society, but when you see the people of Marley and when you see the people of Paradise, they're always waiting online for food. So something's not working.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so I think I don't even really know where to start. So I think a lot of people on the surface level are going to look at it and say that like Marley's oppressing Paradis, or by the fourth season they're going to say the other way around. And it's like these are two warring powers, but ultimately like the people who are losing in this situation are the citizens of those nations. And I think it to bring it to like a real world parallels, there's a lot of like people who hate America and support China instead. And the reality is like both of those places are like oppressive nation states who commit genocide, and who they're basically like prison states, surveillance states, and they do all these things that are ultimately for the purpose of like preserving their state power as opposed to actually doing anything for their citizens. And I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make in politics, is that they think because America is bad, enemies of America are good, or because or because Marley is bad, enemies of Marley are good. And I think Attack on Titan really sums up that disparity really well, just in that once you get to the fourth season, you see that the people of Marley who are not politicians are being influenced in the same way that the people of Paradis are, in that they're just being just like brutally misled and miseducated to the point where they think, oh, I have to go out and fight this other power, when the reality is I'm being impressed by the people that are in my home, you know?
Right. In fact, that brings me to Erin and
Get
Gabby. I think I have a
get
picture of them too. Yeah, these two. First of all,
yeah.
also I just need to say I'm kind of here for the 5 o'clock shadow Erin. I didn't know that that
Yeah.
was my thing until this season. Like abs
Hmm.
and 5 o'clock shadow grown ass Erin is a look. It is a whole mood.
Hmm.
But I think the thing that is so fascinating, not just about these two characters, Gabby being from basically the mainland, from Marley, and taught from birth that everybody who lives in Paradis, they're evil and they're horrible and they're animals, but she walks around with a
With the
a lot an armband that looks like a lot of the imagery that goes back to World War II is just creeping me out this season. And I know
Mhm.
for those of you who have read the manga, I have not read the manga. My introduction was the anime. What I do is I watch the anime many times and then I read the manga. I know that's not the way you're supposed to do it, but that's what I do with my comics. And fight me. So
I think that's a fair way to go. I have no intention of reading the manga ever. So like, so I think you do it the way you want to do it.
Um, JD Hazel, one, Attack on Titan is hitting me really hard right now for the issues with the Eldians. The Eldians, born in Marley, consider themselves the good ones, and the ones in Paradis, devils, but they're treated like crap too, but they feel they are better than the ones on Paradis. That is so relatable to today. So, yes,
Hmm.
welcome to anybody that is just joining us. Welcome to the Blur Girl Live. My name is Karen Mahorn, aka the Blur Girl. My guest for this first hour is Yedoye Travis, comedian, writer, producer, apparently comic book writer as well. And we're having a little conversation about anime, specifically Attack on Titan, and its sort of socialist and Marxist parallels to the real world. The funny thing is, it doesn't matter necessarily because a lot of people want to talk about the actual political system, and the thing that I've been trying to point out is it doesn't matter who's in charge if they're lying.
Yeah. It also, even if they are telling the truth, it doesn't matter because they're not going to live forever. That's my big issue with like political systems like that. Like Paradis is a monarchy, and they make this whole big deal about putting Historia Rice in the place of whatever the Puppet King's name was before her. But like, even if she is nice, even if she is a benevolent ruler for while she's alive, she's going to die eventually. And that's still a monarchy. You still have that whole political structure in place. So like, why are we glorifying the existence of like of this like what is the omnipotent rule when you could have any
And
type of
then
democracy, you know?
And then the other really weird parallel, because basically what they've set up in this story is that the royal bloodline, it would be like if Queen Elizabeth became queen because she ate her sister. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
the bloodline
It's
is
funny.
like this cannibalistic Titan
Yeah,
gene that allows them to be these gods, these giants, but only for 13 years or something.
yeah. And you know
And
what? This is
then
part.
go ahead.
Oh no. Oh, so this is part of why I have problems with things like District 9 and like this sort of metaphorical representation of real problems, is because you then get into like you start to apply those metaphorical situations to the real world, where in Attack on Titan it's like, in a way, the Marlians are justified in being terrified of Eldians because they're the only ones that can become Titans, and they're the only ones that like, if all the education was there, if everybody knew what was up, like they would realize that they have all the power in this scenario. They're the only ones that can take on this
Right. So
and actually do anything.
and No, and I love that parallel because I have often said that if you think about it, they're terrified because the Eldians are the only ones who are magical.
Yeah.
Basically, they're the only ones that can do this. So but they are quote unquote in the minority because since Paradise was set up as a penal colony and everybody's sent over there, I mean, it's like Cuba. Like they didn't when they see blimps and advanced technology and Marley, they're losing their minds because they were left with nothing for
Mhm.
generations. They don't even know what they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's like all this information is hidden from them. And if they just knew their own history, and this gets into like parallels with any type of oppressed people. Like if you knew your history and if you knew what you were capable of, you knew the things that you'd done in the past, then you would have like a rational mind about what you can do now. And they just kind of don't.
Now,
Mhm.
this is really interesting, and it also will make you fight with people that look just like you. Because if you looked at that image of Gabby and Erin, they look like they could be siblings.
Yeah.
But she is like dead set on killing him, hates him,
Hmm.
and anybody that is anything like him. Um, so what the other parallel I want to bring up is what I just thought of this. So you are Nigerian American, correct?
Hmm.
Okay. So if we look at some of these parallels within the Black community, of because my mother is not from this country either. So like inside the household, my father was from here, my mother is not. So inside the household, there was always this battle. Like don't act like an American, or
Yeah.
don't act like a Black American, or in this situation, it doesn't matter because you're going to a situation that's a predominantly white space. They're all going to hate you.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was just different levels of like.
Yeah. And you
So I,
get
but then when you get indoctrinated with this stuff, and then you go out in the world, and then we have African Americans hating on Africans and people who are from
yeah.
literally from the continent hating on us, saying we're appropriating. How when you look at it with the parallel of this anime, what what does that do to your psyche, or does that make you want to drink?
I'm I mean, it's like I feel like I don't even have to look it through the lens of the anime. It's just like, you know, you're not seeing who the actual enemy is, you know? You're not seeing who's forcing you into this conflict with each other. You're not seeing the economic circumstances or the political circumstances that are forcing you to go to war against people that look like you, or to like drop bombs on people that look like you, or that are in my case forcing you to not live in a neighborhood with people like you know, because for some reason people are willing to subject themselves to this like higher higher authority above all of us than they are to like subject themselves to potentially to this perceived danger of being around like Black Americans. Or if a Black American was to go to Africa, it would be the same thing,
And
you
the other thing
know.
I find fascinating is in both real life history and Eldian history. When we're looking at real life history, every place that like Europeans have conquered in Africa, they have left a minority in charge. If you look at Rwanda, even if you look at
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, I'm thinking of the Yoruba and the Igbo.
Mm-hmm.
Hatred. And it's like, y'all are like literally cousins. Like before somebody showed up and drew a
Yeah.
line in the grass, y'all were literally neighbors. But now because that other person showed up and said your nose looks different than that person.
Mm-hmm. And the reality to that is that like only reason the slave trade happened the way it happened is because of the threat of violence from Europeans. And now we're in a position where most of our able-bodied men and women have been taken to America, and now the people in Africa, their population stagnated at like I think it was like 100 million for 3 or 4 centuries. And now you're in a position where the only way you can survive is by depending on Europeans for firearms and by going to other villages and basically kidnapping them before they can kidnap you. And so now you're in a position where you're forced to do that. And you're not even thinking about the fact that you're gradually becoming dependent on European goods, which you did not need before this point, and European like fabrics, which you did not need to this point. And this entire time, the conflict between these two groups is literally being used to enrich, we'll say Marley, in this case.
Right. Well, I was going to say, let's bring it
Yeah.
back to Attack on Titan. So let's look at the fact that now they're saying that I need somebody to explain to me exactly what the rumbling is, because I thought the rumbling was a Titan, but I was told I was wrong. So
So it's my understanding that the rumbling is I think maybe they were just saying it's more specific. I guess it's I think basically the walls that surround I don't know what the actual community is called. I know the island is parody, but the basically
yeah,
the walls are made of titans. So
yes.
they're made of hardened titans, and allegedly the titans in those walls can be released and set out to destroy Marley.
And
But
you know what? Somebody in the chat did answer that. The rumbling is waking the Titans in the walls. Jason O
yeah,
says it's using all of the wall Titans to steamroll the whole world.
yeah.
So yes, thank you to both of you in the chat. So here's the thing: somebody from the outside has now convinced you to use a weapon that will indiscriminately, because
Mm-hmm.
if you notice, there are certain Titans that are obviously sentient, but there's a
Yeah.
bunch that aren't.
Well, most of them are, and the ones that
Right,
are already out. They're already
right.
like,
So the
yeah,
ones in the walls, if they wake them up, they're going to not just kill
yeah.
Marlians. I mean,
They kill every.
people in Paradise, they're going to kill everybody, including their family and friends. So is this
Yeah.
really, now we're toying with anarchism,
What do you mean?
right? Well, well, actually, I shouldn't have said it that way. I said it like a statement. That should have been a question. Are we toying with anarchism? What does Erin represent now in this, like, let's go out, let's go free the people. Now, he doesn't want to use the rumbling. He's just trying to get back to Paradise, I think, and to the group of soldiers who have all, it looks like, been oppressed from different regions. Am I wrong?
Um, I was just gonna correct your use of anarchism because
Okay.
I think yes, it would be chaos to release the Titans out into the world like that. But anarchism is just a political system where there's no hierarchical structure, and I think
Okay.
people's use of it is just kind of like reduces it to chaos. And that's not what it is. Like there's a community in northern Syria that is technically an anarchistic community, which just means it's just the most direct form of democracy. They have like neighborhood councils and all these things and whatnot.
But no,
um
but no
but
governmental structure. But that is what
yeah,
Erin wants, correct?
no state power, no. So
Got it.
there would not be um like there would not be like a Willie Tiber or like
Mm-hmm.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
state power that he represents. And I don't actually know what Erin wants. I've been very confused by this whole plan that Zeke has in the fourth season. I feel like now I wrote the video and I just kind of like tuned out and I can watch it
Yeah.
for entertainment now and I'm just like
No,
I don't want to.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're not gonna get Zeke's endgame until probably the finale. And listen,
Yeah.
if you're in the chat and you have read the anime, the manga, please don't ruin it for us. The JD Hayes, I agree, it's a nuclear option. I
Hmm.
ain't even seen to be pretty high. Welcome. Um, thank you, JD Hayes. Thank you for not spoiling it. Welcome to all the new people that have stopped by. We are in the sort of the end of this first hour, talking about anime, talking specifically about the political systems and the social systems that are set up in Attack on Titan, and how they're not always a good thing.
Yeah. They're mostly a bad thing. Um yeah, and the point I was getting at with that video is and there goes my Wi-Fi again real quick. Okay, and I'm
No,
back. Okay.
I was gonna say
The
I thought I could see you.
okay. But I guess the point I was getting at with that video is just that is that we look at like warring powers and like if we were to look at like the US and Russia for example, like my enemies are not as an American citizen, your enemy is not a Russian citizen. It's not like, because Russian people are subjugated by that nation state to the same degree as you are as an American. They have this. They're divorced from their political power in the same way that we are, in the sense that I mean, for them, allegedly elect someone, and we
Hmm.
also, through the Electoral College, allegedly elect someone to represent our political interests. But in reality, we don't actually have control over what happens once that person goes into office. And so the same is true in Attack on Titan. Like, neither of those groups of citizens have control over what their political powers do in response to the other one. They're just the ones that are forced to deploy once the decision has been made. And so the point I'm getting at is that those two nation states, their only role is to preserve the power that they have. You never actually see the king, or like whatever it is, the monarch of Paradis, or Willie Tiber, even communicate in any way. You never see conflict between them. It's all just like the people on the ground floor. And in the case of Eldia, they're the only ones that can become Titans, and yet they're fighting between each other, when in reality they're being used as literal weapons of mass destruction against the people of each society.
And it's
You
it's
know?
fascinating. It's fascinating the Eldians that are living amongst the Marleyans, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to fight against our own, so that we will have a place in Marleyan society." It's
Yeah, it's like,
like
why don't you just move
say
there?
that out loud. Yeah, like say that out loud. Like you know. And I wonder, do you feel that Gabby can? Do you think Gabby's mind can be changed? Like even when people are nice to her, she just can't.
I feel like they're setting her up to have a redemption arc, but it's also in the middle of the season, presuming there's like 20 something episodes in this season. So I don't really know. I think hopefully that happens. And I mean, ideal scenario is like, maybe she does take on the whichever titan. I guess the armored titan is the one that she's supposed to take on. Maybe she takes on the armored titan and joins forces with Erin, and they work out some type of situation. I don't really know what that situation would be, but like, I can't
But she
see it.
better hurry up because I think there's only 16 episodes in the season, so she needs
Oh,
to get to cracking if that's gonna
really?
happen. I honestly think she just might die a racist. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's possible. I mean, well, the show is also, for as much as the creator might be a Japanese imperialist, the show does make a good point of like, there aren't really any winners in war. And so I think it could very well end that way, and that would be like a satisfying ending for the way the show has gone.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And in the time we have left, I want to talk a little bit about some of the other because the reason why I really like the videos that you do on these topics is because you really do deep dives. And the one that you also did about why Black folks like anime, and it's
Uh,
basically an ode to anime and hip hop. Like, first of all,
mhm.
kudos to you because you literally broke it down and in a very short amount of time with a lot of research. I could tell all the research that you put into that. But the thing I found fascinating was sort of the concept of the blaxploitation era and how so many of us watched martial arts movies and there was so much um soul music used in a lot of the martial arts movies as well, and in the crossover into hip hop, and how, like, just like everything else, we've been here, it's not new.
Yeah, I mean, like, I went to see my dad for Christmas, and he was telling me to like, my dad was my dad doesn't understand how like technology works, so he just like turned on YouTube. He was like, "Hey, put on the Karate Channel," and I was like, "Shit, I don't know." Okay, I guess. I mean, I'll find something. But like, my dad has had like Bruce Lee posters up on the wall since I was a kid, and like, um and we used to watch like, I guess now watch like Ip Man and Donnie Yen and all this stuff, and like, Drunken Master was one of my favorite movies growing up. So like, it's it's been a thing. Like the fact that Wu-Tang Clan exists and has existed since the 90s. Um, well,
Is he really gone? Did we lose him?
still here, but
Okay. I was like, his camera finally gave up the ghost. We
yeah,
have had the 46. We have definitely had the 46. I'm sorry, Wu Tang since then. And it's so funny when you explain to people who did not know that Wu Tang Clan was a movie about
yeah,
an actual clan of Wu Tang.
yeah,
And it's not just a rap group, but the fact
but
that they brought that together is incredible.
yeah, yeah, and it's like where do you go? It's like it's all so obviously from a kung fu movie, you know? Like you think
It is
they were in
obviously
this
from a kung fu
studio fighting
movie.
each other? Like there's no way.
Quid pro quo says in the comments, when I was growing up, Saturdays in the afternoon from 12 to 4 was called Kung Fu Theater. Yep. Uh, Tuna Connoisseur says Yedoye is confirmed for Cyborg. um, yes, I completely agree in the awesome movies. Um, I'm very curious, and I think it looks like your video is a little bit better now. Um, I'm curious about how you procured your anime, like your earliest anime. Was it like Tsunami? Did you have DVDs? Was it all of the above?
I think everything that I watched as a kid was on. Like I started
Tsunami,
out
yeah.
watching,
Okay.
or like that was the main center, but like I watched on Telemundo whenever it was on. And fun fact, the English dub was dubbed off the Spanish version. Isn't that wild?
Yes, they did that a lot. The English version was
Yeah.
because for some reason the Spanish dub of Dragon Ball for some weird reason got here first, and then
Hmm.
Spanish speaking people would dub it. First of all, I
Yeah.
gotta give a shout out to all of the bilingual kids who in the 90s would come home from school and come home from work and be translating this stuff for the rest of us. And for those
Yeah.
of you who don't know what that means, if you are a K-pop fan now and you can go on YouTube and watch your favorite K-pop artists and they're translated, that's because somebody somewhere sat down and did that for you because they're a fan. So it's the
Hmm.
same concept. Putting in work so that the rest of us could see. I know some people were watching it without it, but
Yeah,
and,
but that's like the only reason I'm like a little bit. I'll let you slide if you're like a gatekeeping anime fan because I'm like, okay, maybe you earned it a little bit. If you were around in the '90s, like they were out there subbing shit on their own, just like at home, like, yeah,
mhm.
okay, I get it. I get why you're so angry at least, but like, let me just watch Dragon Ball Z, please.
The other thing you said was that I found fascinating was the concept of basically it's the only way anime as well as martial arts movies were often the only way that black folks saw leads in movies that were something other than white. I think that you
Yeah,
said that in your video.
yeah. I mean, like, and first of all, like, kung fu movies were also just dumped into like black theaters. Like that was I don't remember exactly why, but it was that's just where they went, and so that's where black people went, and so and it was just a rare case of like seeing a protagonist that was not white and not forced into any type of stereotypical position, and granted, like martial arts is a stereotype now of like Asian people, whatever, but like it was Asian people making those movies and presenting themselves as heroes and like also overcoming their oppressors, which in the case of like Chinese martial arts or Chinese kung fu movies was the Japanese. And so like
Well,
you
and we also
actually
did that. Black folks also did it to ourselves as well with black exploitation films. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
Dolomite's entire career. I don't think anybody what he did for black filmmaking is amazing, but his movies at the time, like if you
Yeah.
ask any of our grandparents or whatever, they'd be like, "That was smut."
Mhm. But my dad had them. My dad had them.
Your dad had Dolomite. So weekends
Yeah.
was Dolomite and Enter the 46 Chambers.
Yeah. Just
Um,
Dolomite, Jackie Chan. Mhm.
so listen, I don't want your camera to completely die on us, and I want to thank you for hanging out with me and for the rest of the people here. Yedoye, please tell everybody where they can buy your Batman comic and where they can see you talk more about anime.
So you can see me talk about anime on Beyond the Bot. That is my YouTube channel, formerly Getting the Robot, but no more. And my Batman comic is the final issue in the new Legends of the Dark Knight series, which drops, I think, at the end of March. I want to, but that information is available on the internet. Mine is the last one, so it'll be out in like June or July.
You're so
You
funny.
don't have to just follow me.
It'll be out Juneteenth. Thank you
Yeah.
all. Don't go anywhere, folks. I want to thank everybody that's been in the chat. Do not go anywhere. My next guest in a few minutes is going to be gamer, producer, writer, host, and overall magical, amazing person, Erin Ashley Simon. So please stay where you are. We will be right back.
Amazing!
I keep getting it. Why did that? Anyone else? No, no.
confirmed. Training time's over. Let's see what you can do.
Like the old times, baby.
Alright, it's time for a nice, relaxing Saturday evening.
Yeet!
Sarah.
Oh, let's hit the spike!
That's one. Coming in, can we get another two there? McDaniel's just laying it on this diva. What'd she do to you, King? Who hurt you? It looks like they were. Oh my god!
Damn! That was nasty.
Yeah! One shot, one kill, baby!
It's taking a slider.
Yeah, finish.
Finish that, Ryan. Let's go. We're schmoovin'.
One of the first college graduations to occur in Minecraft.
Spam the word operator and I will give you free things. Odds and ends. You just won yourself a whole ass game.
Right now, Mr. Stafford, you are looking like the person who's going to be the grand prize winner of a brand new Resident Evil 2 remake.
My God, I'm so
What is
bad.
happening? Ivan! Ivan!
Yes, let's go!
Later.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Kara Mahorn, and welcome to the Get Down segment of the Blur Girl Live. Now, this is where I talk with a guest about what they do in geekdom, how they do it, and how they make a living at it, basically. So let's kick off Women's History Month with tonight's guest, who is Erin Ashley Simon. Now, Erin is a multimedia personality, host, producer, and consultant. Her love and passion for video games, sports, music, and content has helped to shape who she is today, pushing the culture forward and breaking barriers as a woman in the industry. Her vast knowledge and creative mindset have led her to be tapped by well-known brands and organizations such as AT&T, Nike, Columbia Records, Bacardi, Major League EMLS, Forbes, XSET, Cloud9, Gen G, Evil Genius, Revolt TV, and more. She stays busy. Leveraging her deep-rooted connections in the music, entertainment, and gaming industry, Erin looks to continue to build an intersection between gaming and culture. And she recently announced that she's partnering with Puma and is a co-owner of XSET. So we're going to get into all of that. Welcome to the show, Erin Ashley Simon.
Hey, yes. Thank you for having me. It's always great to talk to you.
It's so funny that it took forever for us to do this, and then we ended up on another panel last week. I'm like, it's like all or nothing.
It really is. I mean, we're two busy ladies, so, you know.
But I'm not, listen, I want to be busy like you busy and paid. So let's back up first. I always ask every guest what they're geeking out over or what they're playing, watching, reading, listening to stay sane in this perpendicular that we're in. So tell me what you're chilling out with.
Oh man, I wish my answer could be the back of my eyelids because I really need to be resting more. But I've been watching WandaVision. I'm trying to catch up on that. I've been playing the new seasons for Call of Duty. Been catching up on Valorant. What else? I've been watching a lot of shows on Netflix as well. I've been also like their international shows. So I've watched one Spanish one, which was a very, very interesting program. Then I also watched this Korean-based show called Sweet Home, which was really interesting in itself. And then what else? I've been watching anime, My Hero Academia. I'm going to watch Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan later. Like, I've just been getting into everything and trying to watch as many different things as possible.
Wait, you haven't watched Demon Slayer yet?
No. So, okay. So I have a habit of starting series and shows and then not finishing them because I started another one. So I'm like trying to get in the habit of like, I'm going to only focus on one and get through it. And so then I like don't like end up watching it. And then like, I don't want to have all these series and shows that I just don't get through. I want to be able to finish all of them, get up to date and just, you know, try to get through it.
No, that's amazing. And listen, Attack on Titan, there's a lot. I don't know if you heard the first hour, we were talking about a lot of the politics and stuff in that show. And in terms of Netflix, yeah, there's a lot of international stuff I watch on Netflix too. And I feel like, honestly, sometimes some of their international stuff is better than some of their like B movies that they have that's national. So yeah, I can completely agree. Now what's interesting is I know that you're on Watch Vet. I know that you're on that network almost every day, but I also found out that that's not the only thing you do. So for the people, like maybe the one person or two people in here that might not know who you are, tell us a little bit about sort of a day in the life of Erin. How many shows are you doing? How many podcasts are you doing? And how do you find the time to stream?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. I just do it. Like it's like a routine habit at this point. But so not only do I do shows and programs for Ven, but I also have scheduled days for certain things. So Wednesdays are typically the days for like the podcast that I do for Cloud9 and the podcast I also do for Evil Geniuses. And then Mondays are usually like my prep days for the rest of the week. Ven days could be Thursdays or Wednesdays, typically more so on Thursdays. But I think schedule recently got changed, so now it's Wednesdays and the time changed. Honestly, and like when it comes to broadcasting and hosting, the times constantly change. And especially if you have like different quote unquote seasons and things like that. And so I have a calendar system that I literally manage everything. I even have to, it's to the point where I even put and block off time off, take a nap. Like I have to put all these things to make sure that I'm managing my time and also make sure that I actually don't work when I'm not supposed to work. And then I also have agents. So I'm represented by CAA Creative Arts Agency. And then I also have a manager. His name is Jiten. And so he helps me with a lot of my day-to-day stuff. And then my agents help me with a lot more of the bigger projects, bigger deals, and bigger contracts. So CAA was the one that helped me with Turtle Beach in terms of locking down Turtle Beach and Rocket for myself. And they also were involved in the Puma sponsorship that I currently have as being part of their brand ambassadorship. And then my manager helps me with something like the day-to-day things and helping with communication. And the great thing is for Ven, we do have Julian and Brianna who are part of like the talent management. So they help us manage within Ven itself. But I luckily have been able to build a team, and I also have a content team as well, which a lot of people don't know. I have a videographer, video editor.
Okay, I'm just taking all the notes. Okay, get a manager, and then I have to you have an agent, okay, and then I have to get a content team, and then so basically, I want to be Erin when I grow up. So for those of you who are seeing in the chat, there's a little Patreon link there. Support your favorite streamers so that when I grow up, I can afford to have a team. Oh, this way, a team like Erin.
Yes, get you your team and video editor, thumbnail creator, script writers.
Oh, thumbnail creator. That's a really good idea because I spent a lot of time doing that. That's a great idea.
I have thumbnail. They handle the YouTube channel, the video editor, and I have 2 script writers who help me with my scripts for my videos. Whenever I'm busy, they kind of help me fix it and everything like that. It's great.
That's a really amazing idea. Now, I have an amazing team here at OSMIC that helps me. For anybody behind the scenes, I don't want y'all getting mad. You're doing an amazing job, and I could not do the show without y'all. But having all of those other people to help you out, that means you can just show up and create. What's it been like during the pandemic though? So, you were doing live stuff, but like we all were before the pandemic. How do you stop working? In the pandemic. I heard you're scheduling naps. I'm trying to figure out how you do that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is I mean, I can't lie. There's some days and some times where like the management part isn't the greatest, but I think for me, what's helped is like setting more boundaries. There's certain things that like I in order to keep my well-being and mental health, I just can't do. Like I can't really do as many one-on-one calls anymore. I always tell people like if you have a question about whether it's hosting, esports, gaming, or anything, like I do Clubhouse sessions, I do Twitter Spaces, I answer tweets, I answer emails, LinkedIn messages, Twitter. Like I try to help as much as I can, but I've realized that in order for me to be efficient and to get the projects and things I need to get done, I just can't take one-on-ones as much. So the only time I really will take certain calls or one-on-ones is if it deals with like work or a new contract or a new deal or something like that. So I've had to kind of say, okay, let me limit the amount of Zoom sessions and limit the amount of calls, so I can really just focus on what I do best. Because if I put most of my energy and save my energy and keep myself healthy and good to be able to put out the best work, it's going to get me bigger projects and more and bigger work. And so I've had to kind of set that balance and be okay with telling people no. I know that like a lot of times when you're trying to build and to get bigger, when you get to a certain point, you have to be specific with what projects you take on, and because you have an end goal, and those projects have to help you get to that end goal. But part of that also means you can't take every project anymore. You have to start saying no, and sometimes saying no even means saying no to no to your friends who were like, hey, can you do this? And it's just like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. But even with that, even whenever I say no, I always try to balance it with like, hey, I can't do it, but I know someone else who can do it. And I like doing that because I like giving gigs to other people. And especially I love giving gigs to people from underserved communities, POCs, LGBTQ plus, and especially Black women, because I want to see more of us in this space as well, and Latin women too. So I try to always balance it where if I can't do it, I always will recommend to someone else, because I am paying attention to a lot of talent. I don't really engage too much on Twitter for my sanity sometimes, but I do pay attention to a lot of people in the scenes. And if I think there's an opportunity that I can suggest for someone else, like I always will try and do that.
No, absolutely. And the chat is completely agreeing with you. Like Yoga's Panda. Oh, welcome to the Blur Girl Live. Quid pro quo, yes, I completely agree. Some other people are also Sweet Home fans. They agree with you.
Yay.
And yeah, having a team, Madness AD, Erin's list of awesomeness is insane. Yes, I believe she knows you. Erin's list of awesomeness is insane. Can we trust robots? We love a team. Yeah, I have only in the past couple of years really started setting up processes so that I can have a team. And so, and that's really important, because years ago, I'd come from video editing and I had to learn how to work with an assistant back then. That's easy for me to do. Having an assistant doing what I do now, it dawned on me that I need to get a lot of the way I work out of my head and create a process. I record a lot of what I do. So if I bring somebody on, because that onboarding process takes that time out of you. That's where all the Zoom hours go, explaining to somebody how it all works. Yes, Madness AD said, dang, I was going to ask if she had an editor. Hey, you never know. Get your reel together. She might need another one.
Yeah, open to many. You never know. There may be other projects I may have to bring more on board for. So you never know.
No, absolutely. So let's talk about gaming a little bit. I've seen you regularly talk about, and this is what happens so much when you are a woman specifically a woman of color in a geek space that is dominated by men. I am more on the comics, anime side. You are absolutely more on the gaming side. But you speak regularly about the importance of diversity and inclusion. This is not a show where we talk about how important that is. This is a show where we talk about what we can do about it. So from your perspective, in a lot of your comings and goings, either as a host or as an esports, gamer, what are some of the ways that we can, as both allies as well as by POC, create the spaces that we want to see?
Oh man. I think the way that we can create the spaces that we want to see is when we are creating the spaces, we have to create it with a business mind, right? I think that sometimes when we are creating some of these safe spaces and these initiatives, definitely has good intentions, right? We're trying to create it with the purpose of having more people from the community come in, for the purpose of being creative, right? But one of the things is as part of the process, especially if it's like a nonprofit, there has to be a business element to it in order for it to grow and to also get the appropriate support that you need from it, or even getting investment. But when you focus on the community, right? And even though when you develop the community, I think that sometimes people are like, okay, that's the creative, that's the organic way. But that's also part of the business too, is to grow grow the community essentially. And I think that like it's so important to keep both the good intentions, but also understanding that in order to really get the effective change or the things that you want, it's either having your community be so powerful and so influential to the point where the other brands and businesses will get involved, or figure out strategically how do you structure it from a business perspective, or at least be able to pitch it to business to amplify and to grow it even more. And even sometimes having a small community, but one that's very, very engaged is actually very valuable to a lot of companies. For myself, right? I'm not a broadcaster in the esports and gaming space who has the most followers, right? Because I started my career in terms in front of the camera a lot later than everyone else did. But what I can say is I'm someone who understands who I am, understands my brand, understands my message and my content. And my engagement on my platforms is tremendous. I mean, I just found out that over the last year, like my Twitter grew by almost 40-50%.
Yes,
Which is
that's
really
wonderful.
amazing. Yeah, so it's a 40 to about like a it's about like a 40% growth. And so, but that starts with like you have to understand the community, you have to understand yourself, your brand, your message, because if you understand that, you can do the appropriate business structures and standards. You don't have to have 1 million followers to do business. Like you don't. You have to have a plan and an understanding of who you are, what your value is, so then you can convey and tell someone. The problem that happens is a lot of individuals and communities, they don't understand their value, so people undermine them or underpay them. If you understand the value, the engagement, your community, if you understand all these things, if someone tries to undermine you or underpay you, you can be like, nah, I already know my value is, you're not going to do it. And then those who see that you understand that are willing to invest more, because investments are risks, right? If someone invests financially into you, there is that hope that there'll be a return on investment in some shape or form, but that is a business risk and investment that they're making. You have to be able to be knowledgeable and be ready to explain why, hey, I know you're about to put $1,000 on me, but this is what you're going to get. This is the value I have, and this is how I'm going to help you. You have to be able to communicate these things if you want to continue to grow those platforms and those communities, to be very influential and profitable, especially for our community.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally couldn't have said it better myself. I tell people all the time, stop clout chasing, and stop chasing those dots and those, because here's the thing. I have over 30,000 followers on Twitter. Twitter does not make me the money Instagram does. And I have a whole other account that's my business account that actually, was what I actually do my consulting and stuff. Any day of the week, I could probably say that makes me more money than my other Twitter account.
LinkedIn gets me a lot of jobs.
And what's really funny? I am really just getting into LinkedIn. So girl, give me your secret, because I keep thinking that LinkedIn is, like you said, business, but I never think gaming, esports, influencer. I think banking. So tell me how LinkedIn has helped you.
Girl, all the decision makers for esports orgs, companies, brands, they're all on LinkedIn, and they're actually more accessible on LinkedIn than they are on any of the other social media platforms. Like literally, I've been able to connect with different individuals at some of the other like peripheral companies, just in general. And I've been able to establish myself as a voice for the esports community on the platform, and really has helped me get speaking engagements. It's helped me to get it assisted with sponsorships. It helped me in so many different shapes or forms. And then on top of that too, my agents are on LinkedIn as well. Like agents from UTA, CAA, all the WME, they're all on LinkedIn,
WME,
right? Yeah, they're
Yeah.
all on LinkedIn, and they all actually engage more and actively on LinkedIn than they do on the other platforms. So if you're really looking to establish yourself in a business perspective, like LinkedIn is amazing. I know one of my friends, Paul, he grinded on LinkedIn and actually was able to get a working opportunity at EA. So it's like it's
Oh, wow.
so there's such value in it.
Was he blogging? Was he going live? Was it a mixture of all of the above?
I'm not 100% sure what the specific thing he did, but he was engaging with the community, right? Because you can use there is an actual active followed hashtag for esports and gaming as well. And it's becoming more and more used, and more people are developing content specifically for that platform. So he would engage with my content. He did reach outs. He did a lot of reach outs until someone gave him an opportunity. And then now he's utilizing the opportunity it has with EA, and now he's like developing and helping one of the communities on Clubhouse for Black gamers. He's engaging more on Twitter. He's engaging more with influence. So it's like he was able to create an opportunity and create his voice and grab the attention of decision makers on LinkedIn that helped him to transcend. So like for myself, I put a lot of like, and not everything that I put on LinkedIn has to be business. I think that's a misconception. It doesn't have to just be business. Like I remember I put a post up of me in like sweats and no makeup and my hair. Like I had a bandana on and I was just like, hey guys, like something about like me taking time off to rest because you get caught up grinding and sometimes you need to listen to your body. And I'm like, what are some ways that you guys all rest? And it's been an opportunity for me to show people a side of myself, obviously show my like knowledge and information of the space, my business savviness, and then also my thoughts when it comes to diversity, inclusion, and equity. But it's also just a platform opportunity to create relatable moments with people who work. So it doesn't necessarily have to be work. I think when it comes to networking, I think just a lot of people just be you. Also, don't make every interaction or first interactions be about something that someone can do for you. The people that I remember the most are the ones who have messaged me and literally was like, hey, how can I help you? Like, what can I do for you? Because I get a lot of messages of people asking me to always do stuff for them.
Oh, yeah, me
so
too.
I will always, anyone who's like, hey, how can I help you? They always stand out to me. And then most of the time I'm like, hey, shoot, just for that, how can I help you? Like, I want to talk to you now because it feels nice sometimes to have people treat you like you're a human being and not just a commodity or a price point or a weigh-in or anything like that. And when you treat people like humans, you can get farther.
And I was smirking when you said that, I was just in sweats and a bandana. I'm like you are when you play Call of Duty.
Like every day? Yeah.
Right. I was like, but yes, I've had those moments where I was like, where people would be like, oh, we want you to come on this thing. I'm like, do I need lashes for this? I need to know, because there's a lot. I don't look as good as you when I take all the makeup off.
Oh, girl, listen. Even I was like, let me put on some makeup for her because part of me was like thinking, like, yo, should I just put that bandana on for today?
Look, my fan, it is a very welcoming fan base here. Nobody would judge you. For all of you, just anybody just joining us, this is the Blur Girl Live. I'm Karen Mahorn, aka the Blur Girl. I am talking to producer, writer, gamer, basically professional host. I call myself a professional geek, but I'm going to say that Erin will take that crown because she has a team. She's teaching us how to have a team. Erin Ashley Simon is with me. Black Crystal says, no judging here. $20.99 Miguel. All you need is one bite, a numbers game. You're absolutely right. Also, targeting decision makers from companies is smart marketing for your brand. I completely I completely agree. Madness AD, my LinkedIn is kind of deserted too, but I've been inspired. I'm gonna do what Erin's doing. So enough business talk. I need to know what games that you were excited about right now, because I can't have you on here and not talk about an actual game.
Oh man, what game am I excited about? That's a good question.
And it doesn't have to be a new one. It could be one that you haven't picked up in a while and you said, you know what, this just makes me happy.
Okay, I have like an adjacent answer. It's not really a video game, but it's video games. I'm actually excited for the video game adaptation series that are coming out in films. The Halo, what else is there? Uncharted. What are the other
Mortal
ones?
Kombat.
Yes, Mortal Kombat. Oh my gosh, yes.
Now listen,
I'm
I have
ready
a
for
bit
that.
of I have a bit of tea. I was able to go to the set of Mortal Kombat in 2019.
Oh, girl.
And
I would be like you when I grow up.
No, I need to be like you. You take naps. But the embargo doesn't lift till tomorrow. I was hoping the embargo would lift tonight and I could talk about it on the show. But what I can say, because this has already been said in the press, what I can say is if you are a fan, for the first hour, we were talking a lot about also martial arts and anime in the Black community and how we identify with those that genre.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of martial arts, you're going to love, I'm telling you, love this movie. And every single person that is starring in this film has been in another superhero film or played or is actually a martial arts person. So Louis Tan, who's playing Cole, which is a new character, he was in Into the Badlands. He also, remember when they had the campaign for the Asian American Iron Fist? He was the person that people were campaigning for. He's been in martial arts his whole life. His dad was a stunt coordinator on like Indiana Jones and a bunch of things. So he's lived his whole life doing this. Ludi Lin, he's playing Liu Kang. He's amazing. Sub-Zero, Joe Taslim. Anybody who's a fan of Raid and Raid Redemption, and that is an Indonesian, it's not even kickboxing. They have their own form of fighting. And if you haven't seen Raid Redemption, that is what you need to do this weekend, Erin. I'm telling you.
Okay.
When you have your chill out time, you will love this movie. It is, because when you see what they're able to do with a low budget and know that they don't have stunt people, it's like, did anybody die doing this movie? Because it's insane. And then the effects. The one thing that I can say that I was able to see was I watched a 4.5 minute fight scene. And I asked, is this going to be edited? And they said no. Because everybody on that set knows how to fight. And so the cameraman was just moving in and out. And let me tell you, Joe Taslim is faster than like light speed. They would have to tell him to slow down his punches because it looked like they were speeding up the camera. They're like, you got to slow down because you're making everybody else look bad.
Yeah, that's one set you cannot cause any problems on.
I'm telling you. But yeah, it was amazing. And again, I can't share more until tomorrow. There's a couple articles coming out, but next week I will be blabbing about this. I might do an Instagram live or something when the embargo lifts, because it's been 2 years of sitting on this thing. But yeah, it was done really well. The other thing that really made me happy was the representation. They were very clear that if it is a Chinese character, there's going to be a Chinese actor. If it is a Korean character, it's going to be a Korean actor. And there were certain rules and regulations that even James Wan and other people put into place. And I was like, we're going to get the best of both worlds now. We're going to get the crazy, stupid fight scenes. And one thing that was really funny was we were asking about fatalities and they couldn't tell us exactly what they did, but somebody asked it indirectly. They said, how much blood was spilled? And they were like, we had drums of it. That was like, oh my God. So it's not that CGI ninja assassin blood. It's, like
get over here and it's like,
right, exactly. It's like Kool-Aid. But But yeah, it was fantastic. And the fact that you have so many people who can do these physical things means there was a lot of in-camera effects. And this hasn't isn't hidden. But yeah, no, as you can see, I'm a little bit excited about Mortal Kombat. But yes, I am also excited about I forgot Uncharted. I forgot that they were doing that.
I think Borderlands too, right? I think Borderlands as well. Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. And the interesting thing about it also is what we have now and all of I was just talking about this, the fact that Warner Brothers and HBO and a lot of these places are taking up the Netflix, mantle, what Crunchyroll and Netflix have never been doing for years, everybody else is doing, and all these premieres are coming straight home. I don't know when I'm going to a theater again. Somebody was saying that, what's the next Marvel movie that's supposed to be in the theater? Black Widow. Yeah, Black Widow might only be in theaters. I'm like, then she's going to be there by herself. I know she dies. I know she's going to die. So why am I going? Why am I risking my life?
Yeah, when she's in theaters in New York, she's going to get lost on the 6 train because that New York City movie ticket? Absolutely not. I am not spending $20 to go see a movie. That is done.
Nope, not when, listen. And somebody was like, oh, but Disney wants you to spend $30 to stay at home. I'm like, fine. Here's the thing. I did find this out. I will not pay $30 by myself. But that family viewing thing that you can do with Disney, that is actually pretty economical if you're like a parent and you have kids and you want to watch things with extended family. Like 8 or 10 people can watch this movie with you. So then it's a little bit like, if I can charge admission, then I'm fine.
But you keep it though. It's like you're charging $30, $20 for a movie theater and you're seeing it once. You don't even get to keep it. If I'm going to spend $30, at least I know I'm going to keep it forever or however long.
Right. Or it's not even like you can keep it for a short period of time and then it goes on sale, like a game. I just saw somebody who was mad about like the new Persona came out and they spent like $50 or $60 on the Persona 5 or Royale. And they were like, why? Why is this $5 now? It's like, sorry. So
that's how it works.
It is. And no, but that's exciting. Now, have you ever thought about getting into acting? Have you ever wanted to do that?
Well, funny enough, one, I actually used to do acting when I was a kid. So that was something that I actually got trained I did theater acting and also did a little bit of training when I was younger until like soccer took over my life. But that is something that I'm interested in. I've actually have talked to CAA as well as one of my aunt is actually my aunt and uncle. They're directors and producers in Hollywood. So I've actually been talking to her about who's like a really good acting coach for me to eventually go to. But I want to make it progressive steps though. So the next step that I'm working on my team is hosting for either a major like TV show or a major series or like a series for Netflix or one of the streaming platforms. And so that is like one of my steps when things, hopefully at the end of this year clear up a little bit and production is back to some sort of full swing. That's my goal. And then eventually I do want to get into acting, but I'm trying to take the steps to get to that point. Plus I have to train for it.
Yeah, but if Ava calls tomorrow, you're not going to say no.
Oh, I'm doing it. Yeah, if Ava called now, I would tell you, be like, hold on, I gotta go. I gotta go. Ava's calling.
You're on Clubhouse. It can happen. You're on Clubhouse. It can happen. And also, I'm really happy to see how you have been using Clubhouse that way too, because I've actually thought about that. Like, what's the best use of my time? Because I was one of those people who, in the beginning with Clubhouse, was on there all the time, but I wasn't on there actually talking. I was on there just absorbing like a sponge, listening to I would just have it on and listen to like tons of conversations because I was learning so much. But it is really a great idea. It's almost like you have not office hours, but you're having like a little, do you have your own club, or are you just showing up and talking about stuff that's important to you on your own?
I do not have my own club. I just, to be honest, I just don't have time to manage my own
Yeah, I
club,
don't
but
me either.
I am doing sessions with other clubs, but also another thing that I've been thinking about too, which is why I'm a little bit also particular with who I join sessions with, is because eventually there's going to be a monetized component for Clubhouse, and Clubhouse is audio. It's, you know, same way that we have Spotify and stuff like that. And if you're a content creator, just like for anything that's audio based, you license, right? I'm
Mhm.
thinking about, these clubs, they're getting so many followers. Is anyone thinking about eventually like licensing content to them when they monetize? I'm always thinking about where things are going to be going, right? Even for Twitter Spaces, like, oh, I'm wondering if there's a way to be able to license, especially because a lot of companies are getting or interested into like audio based formats. And I know that Spotify, for example, is amping up their podcast levels, and so are other people. So I've been like kind of like occasionally going on now and then, but I'm also thinking about like from like a content and business structure, how to integrate it more. I am trying to test out. I want to test out Twitter Spaces more. Clubhouse is great because I mean, it has a lot of, like I said, that's another platform where decision makers are. It's kind of like just the audio platform for LinkedIn, to be honest, with a little bit of ratchetness and fun. But
I tell people it's South by Southwest all the time, even the bad parts.
oh my god, yes, you got like the fancy C-suite, and then you got like the concert section where people are taking their clothes off and stuff, like, but audio
And
style. Like that's
moaning or
basically what
something.
it
Yeah,
is.
it's very bizarre.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? One thing I will say that Twitter Spaces has above Clubhouse is it's inclusive from jump. So
Yes.
not everybody
And
has
Android
been able
users
to-
can use it now.
Oh, they can. Well,
Mhm.
there you go. Yeah, the fact that Android users can use it and that there is captioning. Because I did not realize that it really took the pandemic for me to see how much of technology is not inclusive when it comes to people who are differently abled. It just, not until I started seeing, like, I try and caption as much of stuff as I can when I put it on social, but I didn't even think about TikToks, people not being able to participate in TikTok. And so all of a sudden I started seeing captions all over everything. And so I'm fascinated by that. And I think that's where Twitter might have definitely the Android part is where they're going to have Clubhouse beat. And it's interesting though. You're absolutely right. If there's a way to license it, or if not license, charge admission. So for instance, if like Drake is going to do a concert on Clubhouse or something, there's got to be a way. There must be some type of payment gateway.
Yeah. Or like you can do like speaking engagements, right? I mean, right now it's going to be some time before we have like a lot of IRL events. So if you're going to do like a speaking engagement, you could literally do a one-time speaking engagement, charge admissions, everyone comes in and listens, right? And in some manners it's more cost efficient, right? Because you can have any guest anywhere in the world, almost any time, and you don't have to pay for travel. Like all they don't even have to put makeup on. They could be in their onesies, right? Having a beer and eating a s'more on the side. Like I'm always, anytime I do Clubhouse, I'm always looking like I'm a wreck. I'm a mess.
Oh yeah, no, me too.
My hair is crazy. I got my glass of water or sometimes wine, but I'm able to still participate and not have to worry about constantly dressing up all the time. So there's going to be some benefits to it for some time. And I mean, audio is always good because, it allows people too who are afraid of kind of the visual component to still be able to engage and interact. And I've actually seen some people that have been using it to get over their fear of public speaking, which I think is great.
That's fantastic. No, it absolutely is. Now we've got it. You wanna act. You have the team. You're obviously doing more hosting. We want to get you on a major network. Got it. Yeah. Okay. So how can people in the audience be like you when they grow up that would be me. So so how does one go about getting an agent or a manager for speaking engagements? So everybody and your expertise, I just want to thank you so much for sharing so much of that. But I'm very curious as to if somebody has a reel or they have a show or they have a podcast or they're just starting out, what are things that they can do and what should they be thinking about that a manager or an agent would want? And then do you find one of those on LinkedIn too?
So I always tell people, like, when it comes to finding an agent and manager, take your time with it, because you want to find the person that, one, believes in you, two, is ethical, and three, understands who you are, right? And so the manager that I have now, like I was saying earlier, his name is Jiten. He's actually a friend of mine who has done agency work before. And so for him, it was always something where, like, he believed in me, right? And for me, I'm willing to, and this is kind of like his first dive into management. And for me, I'm like, I'd rather have someone who has an understanding of just agencies, contracts, and things like that, and believes in me, and I'm willing to work with someone like that than to work with someone who may be established and doesn't, right? I'm very lucky and fortunate that with CAA, I have a whole team that understands me, gets me, and allows me to be me. I remember in my meeting with CAA, during the time when I was meeting with different agencies, I straight up told CAA, I said, listen, I am very demanding. I know what I want, and I don't believe in, like, business no's, and I am definitely going to be messaging you guys a lot so we get stuff done. Are you okay with that? Oh, and I said, and I also said I'm quite straightforward. So, and they were fine with it. And even now, like, they're completely fine with it. And they really have been able to push me and help me build. And what got me the opportunity to talk with CA. So agencies are interesting because in some instances you can send, some agents will allow you to, they may have some way for you to send material to them, right? Other agents or agencies, it's a referral system. So someone that knows the agent or someone within CAA has to refer you to them. Or, for example, one of the talents can pass along the information. And obviously, it's all about the most important thing too is, like, that person who's passing on has to believe in you, right? Because they're putting their name on the line for passing you through. But and then once it goes through, if an agent wants to talk to you, they'll definitely reach out to you. So, like, for me, I don't think I've ever told anyone this story. So how I got connected with CAA was through two people. How do I describe him? He's an old fling. There you go. An old fling, who I'm friends with now. It's not a problem, but he...
See, I don't know how to do that. Meaning I'm a Scorpio. If it's over, it's over, or you're dead. I don't have the...
I'm an Aries. I'm the same way. But, like, if it ended, if it was just something that kind of, like, ended because it's just like, the flicker's gone, the light's out, I don't have a problem with that, right? If you do anything messed up, like, you're gonna get a cold-hearted person. There's no in between for me. It's either I'm on or I'm off. But he introduced me, but then also the agent he introduced me to is Carl Anthony Towns' agent, or part of the agent group. So Carl Anthony Towns is like, he's family. He's like my little brother. And he plays for the Timberwolves. And so they saw my information went in. They saw, and they were like, oh, we already know Erin, of course. And I had a reel that I set up. And that reel is what really grabbed their attention. Because that's another thing too. You could have the most established person pass your stuff off, but if your reel and your one pager and your website aren't on point, it's kind of like how they say dress for success, like dress for the position you want to be in. Establish your information that you want to give to agents or a potential manager or representation, like, make that the best it can be, because you want that to represent the quality that you're going to be providing. And if you don't know how to do things, that's fine. There are people that know how to edit reels. There are people who can do your website. You have to be able to invest in yourself. So always like dress all those things for success. I say that too because it's like when I do broadcast, I dress for success, but when I'm not on broadcast, I'm in sweats. So
right, like Call of Duty.
I'm chilling.
So no, thank you for that. That's amazing advice.
No
Now,
problem.
last thing I want to ask you about is XSET,
Yeah.
because I see that you are,
Yes.
part owner. So there you go. Give him some love.
Yeah.
XSET is now. Tell us about XSET and tell us what you're doing with it.
All right. So XED is a new esports org, and at the core, we are very much about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Fun fact I would like to tell you guys, I actually learned this today. A little over half of the ownership for XED are minority owners.
Really?
And we are, yes, Black, Latin, LGBTQ plus. Over half of the owners for XSET are POCs or part of the underserved communities. So for us, that was so important, and we are working on bringing more individuals in different titles of positions and and executive positions as well as talent to really push forward the diversity, equity, inclusion initiative, because that's an important thing too. It's like, we don't want to just talk about it. We want to be about it. And the most important and one of the best ways for diversity and inclusion is to give ownership and equity. And so that was really big. And for them to even give me ownership, and equity within the company, I think was really, really tremendous for them to do. And so my role is kind of multifaceted. So not only am I part of the ownership group, so I am part of the various different conversations with the executive group, and also some of the ownership. But I also am talent for XSET. And then also I work internally. We actually are, if you head on over to XSET Gaming on Twitter, we are doing a Women's History Month stream every Wednesday where we are getting our ladies from XSET to play games with women from other orgs and other collectives, because our philosophy is that we're about collaborations and not competitions when it comes to diversity inclusion initiatives, because at the end of the day, like, we have to come together to make the industry better. We cannot be segmented and be, so tight-holed about our content and our fans and all. Like, no, we need to come together for this in order to create better opportunities and access. And so this is kind of like one of our low lift initiatives. But in addition to that, we also are raising funds for the nonprofit Girls Who Code. Because I would love to see more young girls and women in science as well as the tech side of the industry. So we are raising funds for that. But that's just one of many initiatives. We also, even through me, we also have been doing some things with the HBCU Esports League that is ran by the nonprofit community in Atlanta, as well as Twitch. We've just partnered with Quality Control. If you guys know that music label, it has catalogs of Migos, Cardi B, Little Baby, and etc. We partnered with them and signed a Fortnite pro player, is this young Black man, and we are going to be working towards building opportunities within Atlanta. And of course, New York City, we will do that too, because that's my home base. And then also we're looking at Boston too. Yeah, girl, our org is based in Boston, but we're very much looking at helping to create opportunities for cities on the East Coast. And not to say that we're not going to do on the West Coast or any of the other cities or like Chicago, but we are going to be focusing a lot on the East Coast just because there's not that much attention from the esports side as much on the East Coast. But those are just some of the things that we've been working on, and we plan on doing a lot more in terms of giving back. We have been looking at some really great talent as well, and we have some great news coming up, and I'm super excited for when we will be able to share that.
That's amazing. And I think that's an incredible initiative. Before I let you go, please tell us first how we can help support XSET, those of us who are not partners. What can we do? Is it all gaming? Do you have gear? Like how can we support? And then tell everybody where we can find you.
Yes, no problem. So the way that you could support XSET is definitely like follow us on social media at XSET, XSET on Instagram, and then XSET Gaming. And our tagline is rep the set. The name, there's inspiration for the name, kind of like a fun fact. The inspiration for XSET has come from Dipset. So, we're very much hip hop and music fans, and with Clinton and Greg, who was founded Karma Loop, and we're very much ingrained in like culture, lifestyle, and music from all of our past experience. And I actually used to work for like Diddy, for the Real TV, and like in music and sports. So we found we're really trying to incorporate a lot of these multifaceted sides of gaming and showing that gamers are not just one way. Like we all have different loves and passion interests. So if you follow us on Twitter and Instagram, you'll be able to be and like follow up with some of our news, be part of our charity initiatives, and really see some of the progressive changes and things that we're trying to do to really change the industry. And we're a very small team now, but we're growing, and you can catch all the news there. And then for me, all my social media platforms, including my website, Erin A. Simon, ERIN as in Nancy, the letter A, SIM as in mother, ON as in Nancy. You'll be able to follow me on all social media platforms with that name.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin, for stopping by. And I always love talking to you because I always learn something every time I talk to you. But I'm really, really excited for everything you're doing. There are people in the chat that are like, Cameron and Erin are going to take over the world. I'm like, no, she's probably going to get there
yes,
first.
Let's do it. No, you're going to do it too. Own your ish, girl. We're going to do it together.
We are, absolutely. So thank you so much to
You're
all
welcome.
of you that have been in the chat, and also that please support XSET, please support Erin, and also support this show. The Blurred Girl has a Patreon now, patreon.com/The Blurred Girl. And you can find me, The Blurred Girl, TheBlerdgurl, all over the interwebs, but usually on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. Please, next week I have a super incredible, amazing special show. I can't wait to tell you guys what's going to happen next week. So watch the socials for the information on that, okay? And yes, I will be able to talk about Mortal Kombat very soon. Thank you for hanging out, and have a great night.